I'm happy to be at CLC, ready to speak the word and the scripture. The presence of God, based on my understanding from scripture, is God manifesting his very persons. So everything that God represents, love, peace, all of these things, because we serve a multifaceted God, manifests itself in his presence, and it's there for us to yield to, because once we yield to the presence of God, everything that the Lord has in store for us, we are able to access. In Psalm 16:11 it says that, there's fullness of joy in the presence of God. So everything we need is contained within the presence, and it's up to us whether we yield to it or not. And it's clear that, from scripture, everything starts and ends with presence. In Genesis, we see that Eden meant presence. That's where Adam and Eve were. And I often like to say that we are like fish living outside of water, because we were created to live in Eden. But of course, as you know from scripture, as events unfolded, that wasn't the case. And that's backed up by John 17:16 as well, which says that we are in the world, but we are not of it. So you now ask the question, what are we of? And it's clear from scripture that we are of the presence of God. So as I said, everything starts with Eden in Genesis and actually ends with Eden in Revelation, with the return of Eden, or the new Eden coming back. And of course, there's many facets to presence. There's the actual tangible presence of God, which is also referred to as Shekinah, and it's the tangible manifest presence of God. And it means dwelling place. It's settled over the tabernacle in Exodus 40. And I think it's important for us all as believers to understand the significance of the presence, and that we should always be aware of it. But most of all, we need it. It's a necessity. It's like air. The presence of God is a necessity for every believer to survive. Troubling and trial times for me are things that hinder you from growing in your relationship with God, hinder you from your faith being made perfect. As it says in scripture that God is the perfecter of our faith. So troubling and trial times, from my experience, and according to a lot of studies about youth today, one of the main ones is relationships. Because if relationships are not done, and we understand from scripture as well, in the right way, then it can cause a lot of bondage and a lot of sin to enter into a man's life. As I've said, I've experienced this myself. I also do feel like dealing with trauma and hurt is a big one. Young people deal with a lot at young ages, and I feel like if they don't know the word adequately, or they don't have the support of the word or people around them that can encourage them, then it's going to be a very difficult time. It says in Psalms 34:18 that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. So for me, part of my transformation was actually going through a traumatic experience that allowed me to draw closer to God, because he was already near to me. So I believe that those are some of the biggest issues that you face. And I feel like just the final issue that we face is not having positive role models presented to us, because we haven't had that example, so we don't know what to follow. But what I wanted to encourage everyone is that the examples are in the word. It would be great to have people who we can look up to, and we may do, but the best examples are always in the word, and Jesus is the perfect one for us. I think the best way to bid the presence of God, especially in times of trouble, is by yielding to Him. His presence is something that we can access as believers. With Jesus Christ's death, He tore the veil, meaning that we had access to God as often and as easily as we like. So I feel like yielding and being intentionally intimate is the way to really access God in times of trouble. We see how people like Daniel, we see how people like Joseph were so powerful in their prayer closets because they understood that yielding to the presence of God and really trusting Him in that secret place would then manifest outside of the secret place when the trials and troubles would come. Well, we need the presence of God always, even just survive. But we need the presence of God specifically in times of trouble, because the presence of God brings comfort. God is the comforter, and it's needed to bring calm to the storm. A lot of us, me included, we have storms in our lives, and we see how in scripture in Mark 4 verse 38 to 39 how Jesus was sleeping during the storm, and the disciples were saying, "Master, Master, don't you care?" But He answered to the storm and said, "Peace, be still." Jesus was able to do that because He understood the power that the Father had given Him. So it's important for us to understand that same authority God has also given to us to command our situations and our storms in our life to be still. So that is why having the presence of God and the awareness of it is vital in times of trouble, so that we can call on our very present help, who is Jesus.